Jake and Fulton coming to you on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for tagging along on this rainy, overcast Tuesday afternoon. Jake and Fulton Caster with you. We're going to talk the most important aspect for the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. And it's very, very simple. Very, very simple. The Royals, are they potentially going to trade Salvador Perez? There are some rumors, some grumblings going on. Also, the Royals are hosting a community open forum this afternoon at 5:30. If you'd like to head on down to downtown Kansas City to talk about the downtown stadium. So we'll discuss that a little bit. Also, they're still not trying to sign anybody in the in this offseason when they easily could have signed the most recent free agent going to the Giants of San Francisco. We'll have a little crosstalk with Brendan, and we're going to share some fun stories of the late great Mike Leach. Mike Leach passed away earlier this morning in the overnight from his heart attack and the seizures. Mike Leach, man, that guy was 101. There was nobody like him. Nobody. And I'm talking personality, individual, and on the football field. Mike Leach made college football better. And the problem we're going to have is, how are we going to get all of these gems from Mike Leach into like a 20-minute segment? It might go a little bit longer, but Mike Leach passed away, and college football is now worse. That is no question about it. Mike Leach was just 61 years old. And when you say just 61, I mean, there are a lot of coaches coaching into their mid-70s, and that's what Mike Leach loved to do. So we might be college football got a lot more dull. Got a lot more
100%.
dull.
College football just got a lot more boring.
With Mike Leach passing away. So we're going to have some fun with Mike Leach at a press conference after a game. But also, no joke, Mike Leach was essentially Bill Walsh of college football. Bill Walsh changed the game in the NFL. No question. Mike Leach did that for college football. He really did. So we'll discuss that. Have a little odds makers for you as well. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Very simple, very easy, 785-272-9429. Check us out on our YouTube page. Go to youtube.com. Check us out, Sports on 580. Very simple, very easy. Click the subscribe button. And you can have some fun in the comments as well. And there was someone in the comments yesterday that had a fun one that compared Dan and Fulton. And they said Fulton is like the 20-year younger Dan, which after about 5 minutes of laughing, I finally got myself together because I thought that was absolutely hysterical.
That means either Dan looks like he's in his late 40s or I look like I'm 16. And
either way,
again,
funny.
Either way, Dan or I are very quizzical about this.
One way you look good. One way Dan looks bad.
It's what I told. So Dan brought this. Dan. So I got to the among the three, Brendan, Dan, and I, among our little cubicle area. I got here first today, which is how most days work. Dan shows up, and as Dan sits, he goes, "Did you hear about what was the large topic conversation on 580 Sports Talk?" I said, "No, I wasn't listening to the show yesterday. Some days I do. Yesterday I did, and I was doing other stuff when I left." And Dan just goes, "Apparently someone thinks you and I look like we could be related." And I'm like,
apart.
"What?"
It's awesome.
To which then Dan and I just went, "We don't know which one of us is supposed to feel complimented? Is one of us supposed to feel insulted? We don't know. But I guess apparently Dan and I, according to some people, look similar. I got nothing.
That's funny. That's funny. So we got a lot to get to on this edition of Mic'd Up. But I want to start with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs rely on offense. We know that because yesterday we admitted that the Chiefs defense stinks.
Not good.
They're bad. Okay. They're not awful. They're not average. They're not good. They're not very good. They're bad. Okay.
They're like a hit song by Michael Jackson. They're bad.
That was actually a good song.
Great song.
I mean, if you're ranked 25th in the NFL, that ain't good. It's not even average. Average would be 16th, but they're 25th. I mean, they're not the Lions, okay, where they're really bad on defense. They're not one of those. They're not the Raiders, but they're not middle of the pack. So they rely on their offense. Well, the running game has gotten better. Passing game is still good. Mahomes is still a wizard. Travis Kelce is still Travis Kelce. They will get better here late because you will add 2 more weapons to use. Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman. Okay? We know McCole is not a Justin Jefferson type or even a Christian Kirk. But we know that Hardman does impact the game. He does. So they'll be getting 2 guys back to help them out. But the number one thing for the Chiefs offense this year and in the playoffs is turnovers. That is it. It is turnovers. And I'm going to explain that the Kansas City Chiefs are so good on offense and in spurts on defense that they can have 3 interceptions against the Broncos and still win by 6. They can have 3 turnovers against Jacksonville and still win by double figures and a late touchdown by the Jags. They can have a bunch of turnovers against the Raiders and still find a way to win. We know that. But the difference for the Kansas City Chiefs are turnovers against the good teams. The turnovers in the NFL, to me, are the number one statistic in the NFL. And I was thinking about this Sunday watching the game with Mahomes throwing the 3 turnovers, throwing the 3 interceptions. This is not a Mahomes issue. This is a team issue because right now the Chiefs have 19 turnovers on the year. 19 of them. That's 6th in the league. A stat that you don't want to be in the top 10 in is giveaways. The Chiefs defense, they don't take the football away. They have 14 takeaways. That is 8th worst or 25th in the league. The Kansas City Chiefs are 10-3 with a -5 turnover margin. -5 turnover margin. Andy Reid doesn't turn the football over, but this year they do. I'm going to give you a little tidbit here. You want to know why the Eagles only have 1 loss on the year? Because their turnover margin is +14. That's insane. Baltimore, +9. You want to know how you win games with no passing attack? You force turnovers, and you don't give up the football. The Dallas Cowboys, they're +8. The Vikings, +6. 49ers. How do you be good when you got Jimmy G and Brock Purdy at quarterback? You take away the football and you don't give it away. They're +5. The Kansas City Chiefs' biggest flaw on offense isn't the red zone. It's turnovers. but more specifically, turnovers against good teams. Have a couple turnovers against the Raiders. Have a couple turnovers against Jacksonville. Have a couple turnovers against Denver. Have a couple turnovers against the Tennessee Titans, if I remember correctly. But that is what they do. They've turned the football over. Look at the game against the Colts. Not a surprise. The game against the Titans, they scored 20 points in that game. 20 points. Kansas City Chiefs also had a turnover. But in the good games, the good teams, all right? Give me the good teams in your mind on the Chiefs' schedule that they've played.
Bills, obviously.
Okay.
Bengals.
Okay.
This is where I also have to run through teams the Chiefs have played this year. 49ers count.
Oh, for sure. Okay. I would include the Chargers because I think the Chargers are going to make playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm willing to give the Chargers since they're probably going to be a playoff team, and playoff teams can usually be counted as good.
Okay. Tennessee, they're going to be a playoff team. Now, are they good?
Yeah.
To be determined. But we're going to talk about, to me, if you make the playoff, now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to make the playoffs, or they might not, to be determined. But at the time when they played them, they were pretty good, right?
When they played, that defense was the best in the NFL.
Correct. The Rams and the Cardinals, when they play the Seahawks, they got that one coming up. So here's what they've done. In the games that matter the most, the Kansas City Chiefs, here's what they've done when it comes to turnovers. Because when you play a good team, you can't turn over the football.
No, you got to maximize possessions against good teams.
Against good teams, you got to be smart with the football. The Kansas City Chiefs had 2 turnovers in the game against the Bills. In one, they had a chance to win the game at the end of the game, but Mahomes turned it over. Okay? That's what they did. The Bills only turned it over once. All right. The next one you said was the Bengals. The Chiefs fumbled the football with 11 minutes to go, up by 4. They don't fumble the football, they probably at least get a field goal because they fumbled it at about the 40-yard line. Then 1st and 10, they were playing pretty well. How many turnovers did the Bengals have in that game?
0.
They had 0. Let's look at the 49ers game. Chiefs had 2 turnovers. They had 2 turnovers. But they forced, to me, 4. All right? Chiefs had 2 turnovers. The Bills had 3. Or, excuse me, the 49ers had 3. But the Chiefs also got a safety, which, to me,
is basically a turnover.
Is better than a turnover because you get 2 points.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you're going to get the football back anyways. They got lucky there because the Chiefs forced 3 turnovers. Remember, the Chiefs have only forced 14. So that means the Chiefs defense not really forcing a whole lot of turnovers. Now let's look at the Chargers game. They had 1 turnover in the first one, and they didn't in the second one. But in the first game against the Chargers were without Rashawn Slater. Mm-hmm. They were without Keenan Allen. There's a lot of context to all of this. Thursday night football game. I mean, there's a lot of layers to that very first game. So when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, it's simple. You cannot turn the football over against good teams and win. You can turn the football over 3 times against the Broncos and win. You can turn the football over 3 times against the Jacksonville Jaguars and still win. And in fact, you should have won, by a whole lot, to be honest with you. But the Chiefs had 3 turnovers against the Jaguars, and they won by 10. You can get away with that. And they will be able to do that against the Texans, probably. Mm-hmm. 2 turnovers. They could probably do that against the Raiders. Do that against the Broncos. I think you probably can against the Seahawks even because the Seahawks defense is very, very bad.
Yeah.
But you can't do that against the Bengals. You can't do that against the Bills. That is something that doesn't work against good teams. You don't turn it over against the Bengals, you win.
Yeah.
You know, that's the frustrating thing about this Chiefs team is they've got a turnover problem. And Patrick Mahomes, to me, who was the last game that he drawing a blank on now. It wasn't the Bengals, was it the Rams? Yeah, it was the Rams. Remember that just what the hell kind of throw was that into the end zone? The 2 turnovers by the Broncos, I will give them credit for. They were great plays.
Yeah, Josie Jewell's first pick was a very good play. Patrick Surtain made a great play on the second one. The third pick was another one of those, what the hell are you thinking?
Yes, you cannot do that. Travis Kelce fumbling the football against the Bengals. You know, you cannot do that against good teams. And in the NFL, there's a chance the very worst possible situation for the Chiefs is going to occur. Now, it might be the likely one. The Chiefs are the 2 seed. The Bengals are the 3 seed. And the Chargers are the 7 seed. You would have to beat the team that plays you better than most in the Chargers, the team that has beat you 3 straight times.
It's got your number.
And then the Bills. There's no other tougher stretch of games to get to a Super Bowl. And then you'd probably have to play the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the Super Bowl favorites, and they should be. Turnovers determine almost everything in the NFL. What was the, I believe it was, I don't remember the game, but the Chiefs were the first team to have 4 turnovers and still win by double figures. Or 3. I think that might have been the Jacksonville game, where they're the first team to have 3 turnovers, force none, and still win by double figures. I think that was the Jacksonville game. If I'm
pretty sure you're right.
If I'm not mistaken. Don't worry about red zone. Just keep doing what you're doing. The pass rush is going to be inconsistent. You know, Andy Reid's going to, make some mistakes. But every one of those games, even going back to the game in AFC title game. Let's go back to the AFC title game. Mahomes throws an interception at the end of the game in overtime. He just chucked that puppy up.
Yeah.
Can't turn it over. And I'm trying to think if there was any other turnovers in that game. I don't remember. But let me look it up here real quick. The Kansas City Chiefs had 2 turnovers. You can't turn it over against good teams. They don't play any good teams the rest of the way, so they're probably going to get away with it. That's why they are so talented. So talented. They turned it over against the Bengals if they don't turn it over, they beat the Bengals. They beat the Bengals. And what do we talk about that game against the Bengals? They couldn't tackle. They couldn't cover. Offense wasn't great. Didn't run the football. And yet, if they just simply hold on to the football, they will win that game.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills, same situation. Like it. Sometimes you break down the game, our linebackers dropping in coverage. No, I expect our Chiefs offense to be better than this. I do. It's you don't got to be, what's his name, who's on the social media world all the time. He's like super smart, like a physicist or whatever. I don't know his name. But I see him all the time. Don't need to be that guy. Whoever wins the turnover battle between the Chiefs and Bengals, Chiefs and Bills, going to win the game. So far, that's been the case. Coming up, we're going to talk with Derrick. We'll get to Everyone Loves the List, and we're going to get mad at the Royals. So, a normal day. That's coming up here on Mic'd Up. Nelson Aguilar a lot because of that clip. But I will say this. I briefly watched the Patriots take on the Cardinals. I regret that. That was terrible. But I didn't watch it a ton. But I will say this. Nelson Aguilar, good dude. Devontae Parker got mushed, and he got a concussion. But he gets up because all football players get up. That's what you do. Get up. If you can,
yeah.
If you don't have a knee, injury or an ankle or anything like that, you get up. Well, they just kept the game rolling, and Nelson Aguilar basically stopped the game and said, "No, get him off the field." Because if he gets hit again at that point in time, his brain will be mush. Which now my next point of view is this: where are these spotters in the NFL? That's embarrassing. That guy should be fired. Nelson Aguilar, good for you, even though you couldn't catch for a while. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Matt Derrick. to Kansas City for our Herman's Meat Smokehouse Chiefs Insider with Matt and Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com. Follow on Twitter at Matt Derrick. Matt, the Chiefs won on Sunday, right?
They did. I mean, I know it probably didn't feel like they won to a lot of people, but that was indeed a victory. I can confirm.
Is that maybe the worst? Well, a win's a win, maybe in Chiefs history.
Ooh, you know what? It's up there. I tell you, maybe it's a little bit of revenge for the last time that the Broncos beat the Chiefs. And it really shouldn't have been close. It was kind of crazy and everything, and Broncos bailed that one out. So maybe the Chiefs deserve this one. They didn't play great. I mean, there were certainly some things that went exceptionally well. The Broncos, I thought, got incredibly lucky a few times. But I tell you what, I mean, for all the meltdowns that I know a lot of fans and frustrations they felt this week, Andy Reid certainly did not sound like a guy that was disappointed in that win. I mean, he's been more upbeat this week than I think I have found him in a long time.
All righty. The game had a lot of pluses. I mean, the Chiefs scored 34 points, turning it over 3 times. The defense had some great plays. They got 6 sacks, but yet the offense feels like it wasn't good at all. The defense feels like they stunk because they allowed Denver to score 28. So how do you to put this one in? I mean, there were some great moments in that game on both sides of the football.
Yeah, and I'm gonna sound like a complete homer and defender and rose-colored glasses here, but I'm trying to be objective. And I keep looking at this, and I've gone back and looked at some of the plays and everything. Patrick Mahomes will tell you he had 3 bad plays. I think he had 1. Two of those interceptions, one, he was clearly just trying to throw the ball away. I think even 2 of them, he was just trying to get rid of the football a little bit. And guys made athletic plays. The Surtain interception, nobody thought that was an interception when it happened. It was a pretty fluky play. That gave the Broncos, they got 14 points off those turnovers, and that turns around the game right there. I mean, the Chiefs don't turn over the football. This isn't 34-28. I mean, this is probably more like 41-14, and everybody feels completely different.
Mm-hmm.
The one bad play was certainly the last Josie Jewell interception. I mean, that was just a bad play, bad throw. But other than that, I mean, Mahomes was really, really good. The offense was pretty good. They had some problems, but I thought they from a standpoint of rebounding against the Bengals, I think they did that. Defensively, you get 6 sacks. You got to feel pretty good about that. The only thing I think that was a problem was that there was some breakdowns in the secondary, and some of them looked like there were communication problems. It's going to happen with young guys. So, hey, if this is a learning experience, those young guys come back from this, they're better from it and don't make mistakes. Chiefs are going to be better from this game. And I still don't feel like it was as close of a game as it looked like and felt like. We'll see. But this, to me, it doesn't change my opinion of the Chiefs entering it. Entering the game, I thought they were one of the 3 teams with the best chance for the AFC West, or the AFC Championship. And I think they have the exact same odds for the AFC Championship. I think they're still right there in that mix.
The pass rush has always been inconsistent this year. There are times where they look fantastic, and then times where they don't ever get to the quarterback. In fact, they did it in the same game because early on they were good and late, but during the stretch where the Broncos scored 3 consecutive touchdowns, this is where I look at this Chiefs defense and go, they weren't short fields. 60 yards is not a short field. And the reason I say that is, I mean, that's almost 15 yards away from where you start if there's a touchback. 42 yards, a little bit short, but you can force some field goals. I mean, this is a team that has only done back-to-back touchdown drives twice all year, and the Chiefs allowed them to do it 3 times. So that's the reason why I look at this Chiefs defense, and for 2 straight games they can't tackle. This Chiefs defense is what it is, and there's nothing you're going to change about it going forward.
Well, I mean, you have absolutely the Chiefs' defensive deficiencies, and I think those are absolutely fair points. I mean, is the pass rush inconsistent? Yeah, sure it is. That's why that they're in the spot that they are. But still, I mean, hey, getting 6 sacks against the Denver offensive line, which is not very good right now, is what you're supposed to do. I mean, if they hadn't picked up any sacks, I mean, that would be a very big area of concern. Even then, I mean, I thought that some of the plays that the Broncos made, I mean, the second and 24, or second and 34 rather, get my numbers right here, was the one that was, I thought, the most frustrating, because you just can't let a team convert on second and 34. But on the one hand, the Broncos got pretty lucky in that that catch that the tight end made was just an absolutely bananas catch. I mean, shouldn't have made it. It was well defended. And and then they had I thought they had some breakdowns that led to the score. The same thing happened with the other touchdown off the shorter field. It was just bad work in the secondary. I mean, they had some bad plays, but at the same time, I felt like that there were probably a half dozen 50-50 plays that the Seahawks just took because they were absolutely up against the wall, desperation, last gasp moves, and they hit on all of them. I mean, it was almost like winning 6 straight hands of blackjack when hitting on 15. That's how the Broncos were playing. And, I don't think it's going to be the same way around the second time in Arrowhead. I think the Chiefs are going to put a pretty solid beat down on this team, because I think by then the Broncos will have been completely checked out. I think this was their last gasp go at it, and they gave it their best, and it wasn't enough.
Why is it that every other team shuts down the Broncos? Like, I don't think that's a coincidence. I really don't, because the Ravens didn't allow a touchdown. I mean, the amount of times that the Broncos had scored under 10 points, that shouldn't happen to the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's why I don't think it's a coincidence. I really, really don't. Denver, I mean, they're like the games prior, they scored 9, 10, 16, 10. I mean, the Titans, we know the Raiders defense is terrible. The Panthers, the Ravens, and before that, the Jets. That's a legit good defense. They held them to 9. The Colts defense isn't outstanding. They held the Broncos to 9. So I don't think that's a coincidence. The Chiefs are 25th in defense, and they gave up the most points to or the Broncos scored the most points to them. That's where I look at it. Is it hitting blackjack 6 straight times, or you know what? They did hit blackjack 6 straight times, but the dealer went to the bettor and said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a face card every single time to start off with." That gives you your chances. Or I'm going to start you with a face card and an ace. Like that's why I look at this Chiefs defense and go, if this were against any other team, I could understand the 28 points, but it was the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game is a glass half full, glass half empty game for sure. I mean, to just continue the bad metaphors.
Glass half empty with the defense, because I do. I mean, Willie Gay makes an incredible play. They get 6 sacks. Like they get the stops when they needed to at the end of the game. Chris Jones does what he does outside of playing the Bengals, and that's close the game. So yeah, I just can't get those. It's the Broncos. My God, they're terrible.
Hey, glass half full. Your offense turns the ball over 3 times. Your MVP quarterback had a couple of bad turnovers, and you still put more points on one of the best scoring defenses in the league than anybody else has this year. So yeah, the Broncos scored more points than they've scored all this season. They also gave up more points than they've given up all season. So yeah, to me, like I said, it's a half full, half empty. But and this, I said, I had no intention of turning this week into Chief Defender Week, but apparently I've become that guy. No, also remember, this is the only game the Broncos cared about all year.
Yeah, no, I if you look at what the Chiefs did, I mean, even on the turnover plays, they moved the football. I mean, they moved the football on a very, very good Bronco defense. And I said this yesterday. I said there are 2 great things about this game. 1, the Chiefs won. That's all that matters. But 2, the offense put together a 10-play drive to end the game. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was, and that was, it's a 1-score game. If the Broncos get a stop in which their defense is excellent, I mean, it's up there with the 49ers and the Jets to me. They got a chance to win because a touchdown and a PAT wins the game. So the Chiefs had to do that. I thought that was great to see in the final part of the game when the Broncos knew they were going to run it and they still couldn't stop the Chiefs.
Yeah, and and I was talking with my colleague Nick Jacobs yesterday about some of the things that he saw in film because he's much better breaking down the film than I am. And he noted that, the Broncos used a lot of the same cover six kind of stuff that the Bengals were using that gave the Chiefs a lot of problems last week. And the Chiefs didn't have any problems with it against the Broncos. So if that was an adjustment that the Chiefs made and they were able to make it after one game, that's another good
Mhm.
sign to me. So because I by and large, the result of this game, I almost want to throw at it. This is one of those outlier games. And the Colts game was probably another one. Hey, you can only throw to me. Hey, you can only throw maybe your best game and your worst game out, and look at who you are. So maybe this game still needs to stick in there. The Chiefs have had a couple of stinker outlier games, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, to me,
Mhm.
there are definitely signs of concerns that this game underlined that you've had all season about this team, about this defense, and maybe even occasionally about the offense. Certainly, turnover margin is a problem. But like I said, I mean, this to me doesn't mean the Chiefs aren't a playoff team. Doesn't mean we're not one of the three best teams in the AFC. Everybody has to survive in advance. I think that was the Chiefs' opportunity to do that.
We're talking with Matt Derrick, our Herman's Meat and Smokehouse Chiefs insider. Check out Matt on Twitter at MattDerrick, ChiefsDigest.com. Very simple, very easy to get some of your Chiefs insight. You brought up turnover margin. They're -5 and yet are 10-3. That's incredible. 19 turnovers. Andy Reid his teams don't normally turn the football over. Why is it this year?
It's a good question. I mean, and 19 is not a huge number. I mean, it's not terrible, but really, though, I mean, the margin problem, a big part of it is just they haven't been creating turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I mean, that's pretty easy to draw a straight line between the other conversations we're having. When you have an inconsistent pass rush and a young secondary, it's easy to connect the dots about why you're not creating a lot of turnovers. The offensive turnovers, I mean, it's not as bad as last year. When the Chiefs just had some inexplicable turnovers and Mahomes had some throws that just did not go his way. A lot of drops that turned into interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Not been the case this year. I think they can live with the turnovers that they've had because I think the offense is strong enough to do that. It's just that this defense isn't good enough to overcome not forcing the turnovers, and that's what they've got to turn around somehow.
Jerick McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco. I think that is the perfect combo right now. Pacheco mixing it in a little bit with the run and the pass, and same thing with McKinnon mixing it up more. He's more of obviously the third down back. He's fantastic in blitz pickup, and he can score. I don't know how many people had Jerick McKinnon scoring 2 touchdowns. And then Pacheco in the first quarter was terrific, and then the final drive he was outstanding. I don't see, and I like the combination of them. I don't need Isaiah Pacheco. I've seen a ton of people say, "Hey, Pacheco should have had 24 carries." I want these guys to be fresh. That's why they haven't used McKinnon a whole lot this year. He is, in their mind, their best running back. Do you agree? Do you think the Chiefs think McKinnon's the best at the running back spot?
I believe so. I mean, just simply because he has become the starter. I think when Clyde comes back, I think Pacheco is still the starter. Hey, they like Jerick McKinnon. There's a lot of things that Jerick McKinnon does better than Isaiah Pacheco. There's no doubt about that. But from an overall standpoint, yeah, you're right. I mean, they do feel like Isaiah is their starter, and he's their primary guy who's going to be on the field most of the time.
And that's why I hope they don't deviate from it. When Clyde comes back, I hope the only way Clyde Edwards-Helaire to me should get consistent carries is if one of those two guys is hurt. And I like mixing them up because you need to have fresh guys in the playoffs. You do. And the Chiefs are going to play all 17 games this year. So you got to find a way to keep those guys healthy. And it's a good mixture because one guy just will run into you, and McKinnon great out of the backfield. I don't even know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be on the team next year. I'd maybe try to trade something. Maybe somebody will take him. But to me, Clyde doesn't do anything better than Pacheco or Jerick McKinnon.
And frankly, it's a lot of fun watching Jerick McKinnon doing what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you think about his backstory and all the injuries and the setbacks and and the struggles that he's had and to fight his way back to being to this point in his career, it's impressive. I mean, it's a lot of fun. He's an easy guy to root for. And the way he's doing it is impressive because he is, in many ways, just an absolutely perfect fit for an Andy Reid offense. What he can do is a pass blocker willing to sacrifice his body. I mean, we haven't heard Dave Tope say it because he's always the pronouncer of that. But I think that Jerick McKinnon's the toughest guy in the team, pound for pound, right now. But in the screen game is where he's just magical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he's the best, certainly the best, back out of the Chiefs have had out of the backfield in the screen game since at least Damian Williams, and maybe even beyond that. Maybe you might have to go back to Jamal Charles. He's just been that good, and I think they do make a pretty good combination. I get really concerned about when you get to the postseason about getting guys and splitting up the carries too much. Sometimes the Chiefs, when they have had a committee approach in the backfield, they get a little predictable to the point where if Pacheco's in the game, pretty much 50% of the time they're running the football. And if McKinnon's in the game, they're probably throwing the ball. That's how you just have to avoid that. You have to avoid leaning on those guys too much one way or the other, and then you get one-dimensional. But the way they're playing right now, you're right. I mean, roll it, and I wouldn't mix it up any differently. I would keep riding with those two guys.
All right, they take on the Houston Texans, who scared the heck out of the Cowboys. Is this going to be kind of the same situation that they had in the Broncos game?
I mean, it could be. I mean, maybe they're just going to, you really don't know what the Texans are going to bring. You don't even really know personnel what they've got right now. Like, the quarterback situation's a mess. Everything's a mess right now. You just don't know what you're going to get. I have a feeling that, the Cowboys, it's a Texas game. That may have been the Texans Super Bowl. I mean, we talk about everybody wanting the Chiefs. Texans may have wanted the Cowboys even more than they wanted the Chiefs. So might be hard for them to put together two back-to-back spirited contests.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of guys certainly on that team that are, trying to put. I mean, let's face it. When you're in a Texans situation at this point of the year, you're just trying to put good work on film so you can get a job next year. That's all it's all about. So maybe you'll run into that, but I have a feeling that you're not going to be running into a Texas team that's got as much energy and excitement as they did last week.
Is McCole Hardman eligible to come back after for this game? Has it been 4 games or has it only been 3?
He is eligible. This is the week that he can come back. So we got to be on the lookout for that. Chiefs have been kind of sending mixed signals about it. Sometimes when guys get ready to come off the IR, they'll be out at practice and doing some things other than on the field. They won't have a helmet on, but they'll be on the sideline, maybe jogging. We haven't seen that with McCole yet. Andy Reid says he is running and he has put some weight back on. He did make the trip to Denver this weekend, which is something he hadn't done for the past couple of games on the road. So maybe that in itself is a good sign that he's getting back.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. But yeah, this is at least the first week that he could be back, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs went slowly with his return.
Same thing with Kadarius Toney. Almost play, but then a late scratch on Saturday. Do we think he's inching closer to it?
Yeah, he seems much, much closer. And it might be, hey, going to Texas, we'll see. I mean, sometimes, that turf in the field down there can be a problem. Maybe they don't want to expose him to it, considering it is a hamstring injury.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. But he certainly seemed like last week it was more of a coin toss. This week, you would think with one more week of rest, it's got to be a lot closer. The fact that they aren't going to be asking him to play a full load, regardless of when he comes back, might be a good sign for him. But I would say, once again, it's probably a 50-50 proposition with Toney this week.
All righty. I don't have to ask you who's going to win the game because I know the Chiefs are going to beat the Texans. That's what you think. So we'll go right to my 2 for the road. Do the Bills lose another game?
I think they do. I mean, the schedule's just too tough. It's not as bad as what the Bengals face, but Bills have got a lot of tough contests. I think that they do. Absolutely.
Do the Chiefs win out?
With their schedule, I think they do. I mean, the only one that worries me in the slightest is Seattle, and that game's going to be at home. Pretty good situation. So I think that the Chiefs went out. I mean, after the Bengals game was the last one that I really thought was a lost proposition. other than this, I mean, Chiefs should be close to double-digit favorites in every game the rest of the way, and you're supposed to win those games. So I think they should win out.
That means you got the Chiefs hosting then, correct? Hosting being the 1 seed, get the bye.
I felt like that they're in the best case and the best position for that, just because of the schedules the rest of the way. And I think that I saw a chart earlier today that the Bengals I think have like the 4th toughest schedule left. The Bills are like in the middle of the pack, maybe like 12th or 15th or something, and the Chiefs are 32. I mean, it's built up for the Chiefs to absolutely get the number 1 seed, and I think they do.
Matt, we appreciate the time. Have yourself a great rest of the week.
It's a pleasure, guys. Take care, everybody.
Matt Derrick, he's the best. Love Matt. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. We'll get a quick timeout. Coming up next, we will finish off this noon hour, and we'll get mad at the Royals all together. It'll be fun. That's coming up. Argentina and Leo Messi against Croatia and Luka Modric. Modric. He might be the most underrated soccer player of all time.
He's one of them.
Hey, he's so good.
He's very good. Luka Modric is very good.
He's so good. I kind of want Argentina to win.
Yeah.
Because I like Messi, and if he could win the World Cup, because he has finished twice, or he's finished runner-up once.
Yeah.
When they lost to Germany. So I'm gonna go for the Argentines.
Yes.
Argentinians. Either one works, I think.
Argentine. That's what they prefer.
Do you know them?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I've just
Been to Buenos Aires,
yes. Didn't you know I spent my last summer in Buenos Aires?
Coming up, we're going to talk a little Royals, and then we got Everyone Loves the List involving the Royals. It is hour number 2 of Mic'd Up. Thank you so much for tagging along. Jake LeBon, Fulton Caster with you. We'll get to Everyone Loves the List, which involves the topic we're going to get to. We'll talk with Brendan Dorzinski and a little CrossTalk. Then we're going to play a whole bunch of clips from Mike Leach. Mike Leach passed away early this morning as he succumbed to the massive heart attack that they said he had. And that's a bummer. Mike Leach it was a gem. I mean, an absolute gem. And one of the most unique individuals on and off the football field. So much fun. And we'll talk about some of the stories, but I remember listening to the Big 12 teleconference back when Mike Leach was head coach Texas Tech. And he was on the phone and in the drive-through lane of the fast food joint. And you can hear
Mike needed lunch.
It was clear as day. You could hear the speaker going, what would you like? And then Mike Leach, he's going to order his food. He's like, I mean, how long will it take, right? So I don't remember what he ordered, but we're all sitting here going, did Mike Leach just order food while on the Big 12 teleconference during his time? The 10 minutes. Like, you only get 10 minutes on the Big 12 teleconference. And he had to order food. Just fantastic. So
there was never a coach that really, truly epitomized beating to your own drum.
Yep.
And it was for the better.
It was.
Made college football better and more enjoyable.
Way better. But we're going to start things off today. Very simple. The Kansas City Royals. Now, there's been some rumors out there that they would be interested in trading Salvador Perez. There are two big, and maybe three big factors in this. And Fulton, you know the minor leagues better than I do.
Yeah.
Do they have what they think is the catcher of the future in the pipeline?
Yes.
Who?
His name is MJ Melendez.
See, I don't think they view him as a catcher. I think they view him as a outfielder. That's how I look at it. Because if you do think he is the future at catcher, then you say, all right, Salvador Perez will be the backup. So he'll be the backup catcher going forward. And we'll put him at DH. All right. Stands to reason. Okay. MJ Melendez is your catcher. Salvador Perez will be your DH when you want MJ to have a day off. I mean, they basically just rotate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The other factor is who is going to take $22 million of being a part-time catcher, part-time DH? I don't think anybody would. I don't think anybody's willing to pay Salvador Perez the rest of his deal. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, that's the other part of if the Royals did. And I'll say this surrounding, because I know these rumors have picked up more steam, and there's a large chunk of the Royals contingent of fans and people that talk about the team. I'm not going to really call them reporters, but they talk about the team, where they say part of the reason the Royals would never do it is fan reaction to the trade. I view trades, and this goes beyond the Royals. This is my opinion on trades in a lot of things. If you're thinking of the logic of a move, and one of the main reasons you wouldn't do it is, well, the fans wouldn't be happy, that should never be a reason not to make a move. I love the Royals. I love Salvador Perez. I don't really want to see him play in a different uniform. But if a team's going to come and offer me a haul of a trade package to pay Perez's contract, which will then open up spots in the kind of position player logjam, you do it.
I would 99% agree with you. Here's the only time where I say, this is difficult. And that is when your team has been awful.
Yep.
For the last
I agree.
6 years, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. So
yeah,
5 years.
You need fans to support you. And if you did this,
you're that move.
Yeah. No,
but
I get that logic. I get it.
I look at this with Salvador Perez and the Royals. Salvador Perez is like a car. Okay. You're going to trade your car in. When do you trade it? If you're thinking about trading your car in, you do it at what you think is the best possible return number. I'm going to trade in my car when it's got 30,000 miles. Or you could do what the Royals did and let him go for another 40,000. Now you got to trade it in, and you're only and now it's got to have 80,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to cost you a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this situation, it's not money, it's return and prospects.
Yeah, it's the return on your investment goes down.
If
the longer you wait.
If you're going to trade Salvador Perez, you should have done it 4 years ago or 3 years ago. Instead, you didn't, and you're not going to get anything for it. And you're probably going to have to pay some of the salary. So could I see a reason why they would do it? Yes. I think if another team does it, they're stupid.
Depending on what another team needed, that's where that comes down to. But I get if this move ever got made, the uproar that would then follow would be loud.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't really be able to blame fans for a minute there.
No.
But sometimes tough decisions have to be made if you're trying to make your team better. That's where I go to. The return is what would matter there. But I'll say this on the idea of, MJ being the catcher for the future and things like that. The reason I still believe they think that might be their plan, they wouldn't be trying this hard to give him time to catch if they still didn't think that was a plan. Like, if their thought at this point was, well, we're just going to put him in the outfield, they would not keep putting him behind the plate as much as they do. Because think about how often they were trying to shuffle the lineup so MJ could catch last year.
And I that no
So-
question is spot on.
And
I agree with
I
that.
will also say, I get anyone's point to maybe question if MJ should be the long-term catcher because he did show some defensive issues.
Mhm.
I won't deny that at all. It's a very complicated and complex issue. Here's what I would say, though, if I did see the Royals trade Perez. One, return does matter into what I get to. To me, though, that tells me the Royals are at least trying to go for it in a sense of they want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
That then also what that really tells me is the business is now being done differently. Because under the Dayton Moore era, would a fan favorite ever be traded?
No.
Ever.
No.
Dayton wouldn't do it on principle. That you don't trade the fact that he traded Zach Greinke is still one of the most mind-blowing things ever. But that's also because he cared about Zach, and Zach said, trade me, I want out.
I want out, yeah.
And I can, we can make this work. Whereas Sal's never going to ask for a trade, which is fine. He seems to genuinely love his time in Kansas City.
I also say this. Salvador Perez was a big Grafal Dayton Moore guy. He really, really was. So there hasn't been a ton of rumors.
No, it's just something that's picked up more steam recently than it ever has before.
The Royals continue to be an absolute non-factor. And today really upset me. Nobody's going to know the name Ross Stripling.
Very few.
They're not going to, and I understand that.
Unless you're a guy like me who very much does know Ross Stripling.
If you follow baseball, you know the name Ross Stripling.
Yep.
He's been in the league for a while, but he's been in the league and he's been good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. If you have a 3.78 career ERA in 7 years, you're good. You're good. He started 104 games. He's been good. Last year, played for Toronto. Now, started 24 games, had a 3.01 ERA. I get it. He's 33 years old. But somebody explained to me how the Kansas City Royals can't pay Ross Stripling $25 million over 2 years. He is exactly what you are looking for. He is he'd be the number 2 starter for the Kansas City Royals, honestly, if they return, maybe number 3, but maybe he'd be better than Zach Greinke. But let me ask you this. Brady Singer, Zach Greinke, Ross Stripling. That's 3 of your 5. All 3 of them had 3.5 ERAs or below last year. Now you're hoping that you're going to keep it going, and I get that. Sometimes, it doesn't strike twice. Last year he was excellent. 21, not great. 20 to me doesn't count because it was COVID.
Yeah.
And then 19 and 18, he was an all-star with the Dodgers. It's $25 million. That's $12 or $13 million a year. The Royals have no big contracts. None. They have Salvador Perez, and that's it. That's it. Can you tell me who is the next highest paid Kansas City Royal in 2023? Can you tell me his name?
After Perez?
After Salvador Perez, because he's going to make $20 million.
Is that Dozier's contract?
Hunter freaking Dozier at $7 million.
God, that contract is bad.
That's $7 million.
That contract is horrible.
I don't care about that contract. The point is that the Kansas City Royals, they only have 4 guys under contract, not arbitration.
Yeah.
Ryan freaking O'Hearn, Michael A. Taylor, Hunter Dozier, and Salvador Perez.
They have room.
They've got plenty of room.
Yeah.
You have told me several times they're trying to find an older pitcher.
Yep.
Is 33 years old with a 3.01 ERA last year not what you're looking for?
No, Ross Stripling is the first guy that's gone off the board. Actually, the second guy. Chris Bassett's the other. They could afford it, Chris Bassett, and I would have really liked them to go get Chris Bassett. Instead, he's going to be in Toronto for, being part of a really good rotation in Toronto. It's one of those things to where we can never know if a team was ever truly in or not on a player. The fact that it was never reported that the Royals were trying to, go in on a guy like Ross Stripling probably means that they weren't, which is a level of frustrating because Ross fits the bill of what they were looking for. Not only the fact that he performed well last year, he's a bit of a veteran arm, so that contract he signed is not much for a veteran pitcher of his caliber, given what the market's been set at. But also, they've been kind of wanting a swingman, a guy who can either be in the rotation or be in long relief. That's Ross Stripling. This is the first move where I've really seen him sign somewhere else and just gone, man, that would have been nice. And I got nothing.
25 million. That 25 million. Right now, I bet you, they've got 23 million right now in total salary. If the projected total payroll is 70 million.
And they said they would operate similar to last year in the 90s.
Do not tell me the Royals don't have the money.
They do.
If your payroll is 70 million, that is laughable. Laughable. To me, John Sherman started out his ownership about as perfect as you can get it. During COVID, he was awesome. No layoffs, no furloughs, even brought in scouts that people were letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm all right with that. Waited to see. I think he should have, if you want to talk about being super aggressive, he needed to pull the trigger on Dayton Moore at the end of the 21 season and go after somebody last year to start the new build. But right now, I have no idea what they're waiting on. Is this a JJ Piccolo situation? Is this a money situation? But that right there, Ross Stripling for $12 million a year, 12 and a half for 2 years. Oh my gosh, your payroll will go all the way up to 83. The horror. So that bothers me. That really does bother me. From the Big O Tires text line, who was the last Royal to stay with the team from beginning to end? George Brett changes the part of the sport. Besides, he's at the end of an incredible career. You'd be selling so low. That's the point. If you trade him, you're not going to get anything back. He's more valuable to your team because he still's going to hit 30 home runs. Still's going to hit 30 home runs. All right. The Royals aren't paying anybody, so don't give me the whole, well, we could do the Tyreek Hill situation. Well, you traded Tyreek Hill at his peak, and they actually used that money to go get people like, McDuffie and Dunlap and these type of players. You're going to get Hunter Doziers and Rhino Hearns trading Perez right now. There is an open forum coming up today at 5:30 to talk about the Royals downtown stadium. Fulton, you going?
No.
Well, you shouldn't because it doesn't involve us being taxpayers.
Exactly.
But they are. This is a terrible idea if you're John Sherman, unless you're required to do this if you are going to take taxpayer money. This is just placating everybody. You really think John Sherman is going to take the advice of Joe Schmo who lives downtown? Oh my goodness, Joe, what a fantastic idea. I'm going to make that change to my $1 billion stadium. No. No. All this is going to be is a shouting match back and forth. It has to be because he's required to do it if you're going to take taxpayer money. Like, You actually have to at least give them a chance to speak their mind, right? Come on. What a terrible idea. And with that, if we were to go to the open forum, that is our Everyone Loves the List. What would you say about input on a stadium? That's Everyone Loves the List coming up next. Alrighty, Fulton, what's on your list of things you need to have at a ballpark? Now, we're going to make this specific to Kansas City because this is the ballpark we're talking about. So, John Sherman says, Fulton, what would you like in your stadium?
Number 4 for me is simple. I need that big old scoreboard there, John. I need something as big as Crown Vision.
You need Crown Vision.
I need a big old scoreboard.
Yep.
Simple as that.
My number 4, I need as comfortable seats as you can find. Okay.
Want some comfy seats?
I need the good stuff.
You need the good seats.
Whatever you got to do to get comfy seats, you got to do it.
Okay. That's fair. Number 3 for me. We don't have a lot of these at big league ballparks. I think more of them needed. Give me some of that good old outfield berm seating. Charge a little bit cheaper. They can all play on the little outfield hills out there. You see those at different minor league parks. It's very nice. Very fun. Good for the kids. Give me that outfield berm seating.
Number 3 for me, bathrooms, and a lot of them.
Just a metric ton of them.
Yeah, I need a lot of bathrooms.
Number 2 for me, we need the fountains, John. There better be fountains. If there's not fountains, we got problems.
We got problems.
I'm aesthetics over here.
Okay. Number 2 for me, if they can do this, views of the game while standing in line for food. Can you figure that out architecturally? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be able to watch the game while waiting in line for food. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what I need.
Number 1 for me is very simple, and I think every single stadium in the Midwest or upper region should have this. Put a retractable roof on that thing. I'm tired of weather and cold weather impacting games when it comes to baseball. You play it in some cold weather and bad weather months. Put a roof on the dang thing.
I thought weather didn't matter. Cold is good. Anyway,
it is, but they'll cancel games for it, and it ticks me off.
My number 1, it was your number 2. If there isn't fountains, we riot. We riot. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Brendan Dorzinski. Argentina with the penalty kick. The GOAT, Leo Messi. Argentina up 1-0 against Croatia.
Good start for the Argentines.
This has been soccer talk today.
This has been talking soccer.
This has been talking soccer. The best matchup would be France versus Argentina. I think that'd be a whale of a final.
It'd be a soccer final.
Yeah. Well, whale of a
I'm
final.
not sure what Wales. I thought they were eliminated already.
They were.
Okay.
They were.
Yeah.
Hard to play soccer if you're a whale.
Yeah.
Very tough.
Thought we were past all those jokes.
Absolutely not.
It'd cover most of the pitch, though. Like a blue whale,
yeah.
enormous.
Do you know a blue whale is the largest animal ever, including dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I knew about including dinosaurs,
Yeah.
but I knew it is the largest mammal in, any modern era.
Yeah. They're huge.
Yeah, they're putting up numbers.
They're monsters, but there's only like 8 left.
This is why the ocean is terrifying.
There might not be 8, but there's not many of them. This has been talking whales.
Yeah, this is conservation talk.
Okay, let's talk about, speaking of conservation. Great segue. Brandon Dorzinski joining us here on Mic'd Up here. A little CrossTalk.
Okay, well, I would like to say blue whales are only endangered, which, that's not good, but it's not like they're near extinction. They're just endangered.
Feel like that's what endangered means.
No, there's another step
there's a whole
after endangered,
scale.
closer to extinction.
What's
Yeah.
that?
So the lowest level is least concern.
Yeah.
It goes from least concern, conservation dependent. That's like, hey, let's be careful here.
But that's like pandas. Yeah, they have a certain environment, maybe.
I don't know but if pandas fall in that regard. That's a good question. Near threatened, which they're likely to become endangered. Vulnerable, which is high risk of extinction.
There's way too many it might be, but we're not going to label it yet. This is terrible thus far.
Then you hit endangered,
Okay.
which is higher risk of extinction.
Obviously.
Critically endangered, which is that's
We're on the
DEFCON 1.
precipice.
Like we're in danger here. Then you've got extinct in the wild and thus only surviving in captivity.
Yep.
And then there is extinct, which is the white rhino now. R.I.P. The white rhino.
Doesn't exist.
If you would like an
Or the
example
dodo.
of a conservation-dependent species, you're looking at things like the fluted giant clam.
Oh.
It is mostly mollusks and arthropods that are in that category. The California ground cricket in danger.
I'm not gonna,
Shout out to Jane Goodall.
I'm not gonna. That's bad. Like,
Yeah, it's not great.
hey, I can't laugh at that.
You might have been thinking,
Even though I don't even know what a groundhog cricket is.
it is just a ground cricket, not a groundhog
Whatever.
cricket.
That's still bad.
It is native to California, and it looks like every other cricket. I don't know what makes it a neon.
This is Brendan attempting to speak Latin.
Yeah, I had a good friend who took Latin in high school.
Nerd.
I was made fun of him. Like, why are you taking
Yes,
Latin?
nerd.
What purpose is this serving?
There
for you?
isn't. It's a dead
He is like
language.
the smartest guy I know, though.
Nerd. Super nerd. That was
Neon emo bias urinatus. That is the Latin name of the California ground cricket.
I am sure Brendan pronounced that perfectly.
No accent, but I definitely phoneticized it properly.
Argentina scored another goal. They're up 2-0. Anyways, you mentioned,
Conservation.
conservation. You
Yeah.
mentioned that. Well, let's get to that because apparently John Sherman is trying to conserve his money and cannot spend it. Fulton has told me that the Royals should be in the mood or in the area for
Market, if you will.
an older pitcher who can still get some guys out, take some innings.
Yeah.
That's Ross Stripling.
Yeah, to a T. To a T. He's never been great, but
I'll say he was great last year.
Well, yeah, last year he had a very, very good year.
Yeah, 3.01 ERA, that's great.
Yeah, I gave you the stat off the air earlier today, but in his career, if you take out the COVID year, because the COVID year was a fake year, every statistic from that year, frankly, should probably be thrown out because they are just all over the map for pretty much every single sport. But in so in a 6-year career that takes out the COVID year, 5 times he's had an ERA under 4, including his rookie year with the Dodgers. I mean, that's really good. That'd be your number 2 starter this year. And the Giants got him for 2 for $25?
Yeah, $12 million a year.
It is inexcusable to not be able to go get a guy like that or to even be in on a guy like that. I mean, how? How can you look at what you have out there? Dan said this the other day on Sports Talk, that we're going to be stuck with 30 starts for Chris Bubich this year. And I told him, I'm not going to watch that. I will not watch that much Chris Bubich. I've paid my dues. I've done my time.
Let me ask you this. Salvador Perez has $20 million. That's his contract. Okay. Are you looking up contracts right now? Please don't.
I'm looking up pitchers specifically.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Who's the second highest paid Royal right now?
Hunter Dozier.
That's very good. Both of you, well done.
What's he making? It's not that much. What is it, like 4.5? 7. Okay. He's making even more money than I thought. That makes me feel worse.
But think about that. Your team, you go $20 million and then you go 7. Their projected salary is going to be around $70 million. Are you telling me you can't go out and get Ross Stripling for 12.5? Oh my goodness, $82 million. Can't do it. Sell the team.
What's even more frustrating?
That's
what's even more frustrating is when you take into account the Royals and John Sherman and JJ Piccolo saying that they expect to operate their payroll come opening day at a similar level or the similar price that they operated last year, which last year they're operating about $90-some million.
I'm sorry to cut you off there, Fulton. Can you believe there's only 3 players on the Royals roster who are not either firmly under team control pre-arb or in their arbitration years? There are 3 on the entire roster.
Yeah, Michael A. Taylor, Hunter Dozier, Salvador Perez, and then they've already, and I made actually a wrong deal there because now look, they've already agreed to a pre-arbitration deal with Hunter Dozier, so he doesn't even count.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't
3. Oh, we can't go out and get a Ross Stripling. I get you're not going to be in the market for a Justin Verlander or a Correa or even, like the Trey Turners and stuff like that. I understand that.
You couldn't have done Andrew Heaney?
You could have.
He got exactly what Stripling did. I mean, Heaney's not great, but he's a major league caliber starter. I don't know that some of the guys who are going to have to pitch for the Royals this year are of that caliber. I'm not even asking for what Jameson Taillon got, which really wasn't that bad. It was only 17 a year.
Now, here's the thing with the Royals, and this is not me trying to make excuses for ownership making bad decisions. I want to clarify with that.
I've got my pitchfork out.
I'm going to throw this. Maybe it'll throw so hard it'll go through the window.
Part of the reason I firmly believe the Royals are going to make limited moves with starting pitching is they know they need to figure out what they have in-house with a new pitching staff. With a new pitching coaching staff.
Which frustrates you because that should have happened last year.
I don't disagree. This all stems back to last year being a wasted year. Because now some of the guys I'm going to say, I'm okay if you guys are full on, they're out of here. Stop wasting time with them. But like the Royals are going to want to see what Brian Sweeney can do with Daniel Lynch, what Brian Sweeney can do with Chris Bubich, what Brian Sweeney can do with Jonathan Heasley, what he can do with Angel Zerpa, all with Jonathan Bolin, with Alec Marsh. There are so many guys that they need to figure out, are they anything, that you do need to make sure there is room for them to play ball. The problem is, this is truly stuff you should have solved last year. But you didn't solve it last year because you had a fake pitching coach and you had a fake manager for 162 games.
All right, I will say real quick, I understand the point and I understand the logic behind that point. You can't spend an entire year testing an entire pitching staff. Like you cannot feasibly.
Why can't you do both? Why can't you go get Ross Stripling and see what they got?
Well, there's the other thing is that the thought that, well, we can spend this year, but not next year, or we can't spend this year, but maybe we'll spend next year. That's a myth. That's a lie. Every single team in Major League Baseball can go and get multiple free agents, or at least a big splash free agent every single year. If they wanted to, they would be able to. They have that ability. The problem I see with the point you're bringing up, Fulton, not that it's your fault, is that you can list off all of those guys. You don't, like, that's not how this should work. Because look at everything. That's an entire year of Bobby Witt Jr. under team control, gone. It's over.
Yep.
If you're going to say your approach is, well, we've got to see what Bubich and Bolin, assuming he's healthy enough to pitch. Is he going to be healthy enough to pitch?
He should be.
And Lynch, who I actually think might have something there, and Heasley and all these other guys. Marsh and Zerpa and all these other guys. Okay, fine. MJ Melendez just lost a year. Bobby Witt Jr. just lost a year. Vinny Pasquantino just lost a year. Because if you're saying we're taking this entire year and our pitching approach is just going to be, let's figure it out, you have wasted
2 years now.
Yeah, that will be 2 full years of service time wasted.
All right, before we let you go here, Mike Leach, Hall of Famer?
Should be, yes. He better get a waiver.
For those of you who don't know, you have to have a 60% winning percentage in your career. He's at 59.6.
With one more win, a.k.a. Mississippi State's bowl game.
He would have gotten 60.
He would have been right on the number 60. Give him a pass. People who change the sport of football deserve a pass.
I'm with you.
Yes.
No.
Just like Don Coryell in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but that's a different story. Like, the entire sport of football changed because of Mike Leach and Hal Mummy as well. But the entire sport, permanently, forever, at every single level, he should no doubt be in the Hall of Fame.
Brendan, we appreciate you stopping by.
Talk to you guys at 3.
Brendan Dworzinski joining us here on Mic'd Up. Might have a weird name, but he comes with some great takes. How about that? As I mentioned, Argentina.
Taking a parting shot at Brendan's very complex last name.
He does have a unique last name.
I mean, he does. You're not wrong.
And I gave him a compliment. I said he's got great takes. I'm with you.
He does have good
We're gonna hear from Mike Leach.
We are. And it's going to be great. And it's going to be probably the most enjoyable 20 minutes of this show we've done in a while.
Yeah, because we're just going to air all sorts of just Mike Leach.
We're just going to sit here and reminisce about our favorite parts about Mike Leach. Yeah. Because that is what you should do on a day when you lose a great hero in sports and things you love. Is I will never tell anyone how to grieve. That is never going to be my prerogative because we all grieve differently. But I'm always fully on board in these types of situations I'm just going to sit here and reminisce about the great parts that made me love the person. And I'm going to sit here and enjoy every minute we're going to get here. Because if y'all haven't heard some of these Mike Leach stories we're going to play, you're going to love them. Because they're so entertaining.
Let's see. We got 1, 2,
we got
3,
like 9,
4, 5, 6. We got 7.
7.
We're going to have Mike Leach on golf, weddings.
Weddings great.
The wardrobe piece, the tie, not like ties in which you hate them, except for survivor pools. Candy, mascots, and dating advice.
Mike Leach on the Pac-12 mascots, if you have not heard it, because that's what we're going to play, is one of the greatest 2 minutes of just someone talking ever. But on with Brendan, he needs to get a waiver and is eligible to be in the Hall of Fame. If you fundamentally change how a sport is played, for any sport at any level, if you change the way that fundamentally that game is played, you're a Hall of Famer. You're in that sport's Hall of Fame. And football is fundamentally played differently because of Mike Leach and Hal.
You should also be, oh, wait a minute. You're going to win 60% of your games while coaching at Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State.
Also the places he coached at and did win were places where you traditionally don't talk about winners.
They're in the middle of damn nowhere.
He had Texas Tech at 11-1.
And the only and that is honestly the biggest reason why there should be a playoff is you had 3 teams 11-1,
yes,
and they all beat each other, and they had to go to the who was ranked highest in the BCS, and Oklahoma went to the title game.
Texas Tech was 11-1.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know about how great Mike Leach was.
Yep. We'll get a quick timeout. We'll finish up this 1 o'clock hour coming up next. Argentina up 2-0. I think this is hysterical. Like, these people just crack me up. So Chad Johnson, right? Who arguably could be a Hall of Famer. Chad Johnson's peak was pretty impressive. And in fact, now that I think about it, if Terrell Davis is in the Hall of Fame, Chad Johnson will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I will forever die on that hill. Terrell Davis, you were good for 3 years. That's it. All it takes 3 years to be good. You'd be a Hall of Famer. That means Priest Holmes should be in there. Torrey Holt should automatically be in there. I mean, a whole lot. But Chad Johnson goes, if you're my last like on Cash App, thank Messi, not me. So he's just like giving money to people who liked some of his stuff because Messi had scored a goal.
Oh, Chad Johnson.
I was a big Chad Johnson fan. 1, because he was a wide receiver, but 2, he had fun.
Yeah.
I mean, some of his the putting celebration, hysterical. If you thought that was dumb, then you're
boring.
You're lame. You're probably a blast to be at parties. fact, I changed that. We would never be at a party together. I don't associate with people like that. But Chad Johnson. I just thought that was unfunny. Kyler Murray. Done for the year. Torn ACL. Y'all, Arizona got a turf problem.
Yeah, they do.
They got a turf problem.
Man, imagine if they had real grass in there.
Well, they do have real grass. It's just terrible real grass.
You know what I mean.
I mean, how many issues did the Chiefs have? Now, Kyler Murray. Now you don't even know if Kyler Murray's going to be back to start the season next year.
Yeah, with how late he's tearing his ACL.
Oh, by the way, maybe a victory lap here. Nobody's interested in Odell Beckham anymore because he tore his ACL February 13th. That means January 13th would be 11 months. That's not even a year. I don't think he's going to be helpful. I don't even know if he's going to be able to play. There's a reason why the Cowboys signed T.Y. Hilton. And that's not a knock on OBJ. If he was healthy, I'd want the Chiefs to go get him. I just don't think he'll be healthy. But
no.
The Arizona Cardinals, what a disaster. I think everybody's getting fired this year. I think Cliff's gone. I think their GM is gone. I think everybody's gone. Like,
it should be.
You can't just keep doing the same thing because that's what they've done every year. Start out fast. This year they didn't. And it's just.
Yeah, this year they just didn't have we start, winning football games and then crash. It's just we started crashing.
Yeah. That does suck, though.
Yeah, it stinks for Kyler.
Yeah, you never want to see that.
You don't want to see young players that are legitimately entertaining to watch get hurt, particularly because their field sucks. Just remember, the Cardinals are a multi-billion-dollar organization. But they will pay to have cheap turf to save a few bucks.
Yeah.
Every team in the NFL could afford to have a full, completely in-stadium grown grass situation. Like the Chiefs do.
Well,
every team could afford it.
Well, somehow we put a man on a moon in the 60s.
Yes, we did.
And we can't figure out how to grow grass inside.
Oh, we can, though. We literally can.
Who?
It just costs money.
Who did?
Hydroponic farming exists.
What the heck did you just say?
Indoor growing.
Where? I need to know.
I don't know. I don't know if any NFL team uses it, but you can grow things inside. It's normally used for a very different thing, but grass can also be used to do it. It's normally used for something that's not legal in this state, but
what, weed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You can say weed.
Well, I was trying to be polite.
Well,
but yes, no, like the concepts that growers use to grow inside that indoor farming and indoor growing was created by weed farmers to skirt the law.
Look at them. Yeah.
But those same principles can be used on everything else.
Very simple.
You can grow grass inside.
Figure out a way. We'll get to Mike Leach. Up on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us and tagging along. Jake and Fulton Caster with you. We got high school hoops coming up this evening. Should be a good one. We'll get to a little more hoops coming up tomorrow and maybe Thursday of this week. But as always, hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Very simple, very easy. 785-272-9429. Check us out on our YouTube page. And you can also check us out on Twitter. Both Sports on 580. Very simple, very easy. If you go to YouTube, click the subscribe button, hit that like button so you get updates on all of our YouTube and our instant reaction from all over. We'll get to odds makers, but before that, we're gonna talk about Mike Leach. Mike Leach passed away at 61 years old this morning, and I don't think in the history of college football there's been a more interesting guy on the field and off the field. And I think this is a compliment. Fulton, maybe you disagree with this, maybe you don't. I think most college football coaches are buttoned up. They don't show any personality. Now, some are like that, aren't like that. Mike Leach was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them are.
Yeah, most are they play things close to the vest.
Yeah.
They have to be very professional.
And some are, that's just who they are.
Yeah.
For example, Lance Leipold.
Yeah, it's not an act for Lance. That's
No.
just who Lance
Yeah.
is.
But it's to me an old school approach.
Mhm.
That's what they've always done. So you keep doing that. Be all business. Don't show any humor because football is a gridiron game.
Yeah, it's all you gotta be. You gotta be showing the toughness.
Yeah,
you gotta be serious.
Don't show any weakness, that type of thing. So
then enter Mike Leach.
Mike Leach was Mike Leach every second of every day on the football field and off. Okay? The guy loved pirates. Odd. He had a law degree. Didn't use it.
And a lot of people I don't think realize that Mike Leach had a law degree from Pepperdine.
Yeah. He would talk to anyone at any time. He would just bring up random stuff. He was always asking questions. He had some fantastic theories in life. And he didn't care if he didn't like you or did like you. Now, he's rubbed some people the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. But he was never going to change. He always had fun with it when it comes to who he was. And that's him as an individual. He was an innovator. Every single offense outside of 3 schools, and those 3 schools are Army, Navy, and the Air Force.
Yep.
So if you're not running the triple option, you have been influenced by Mike Leach.
Yeah. Any offense that uses passing concepts.
Yes.
You have been touched by Mike Leach.
Yep. And it's not even a question. The year 2000, he was throwing it 50 times a game.
People thought he was a psycho.
Yeah. The air raid, Mike Leach and Hal Mummy were the 2 guys who basically invented the air raid. There are going to be a lot of stories that we're going to play that are just Mike Leach having a good time. But I don't want people to look at Mike Leach and just think, oh, he's just this quirky dude. He was a coach that everybody wanted, and he started out, his salary was $3,000 as the O-line coach at San Luis Obispo.
$3,000 for the year. Might we just make sure that is clear?
He was so innovative. Bob Stoops was the defensive coordinator at Florida. He faced a Mike Leach offense. And he was so angered during that game.
Yeah, Mike Leach beat up on his defense so bad.
Yeah. That when Bob Stoops became the head coach of Oklahoma, he only knew one guy to be his OC, Mike Leach. Here are the disciples of Mike Leach. Okay. Lincoln Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. Dave Aranda.
Not bad.
Sonny Cumbie, Dana Holgerson, Art Briles, Neil Brown, Josh Heupel, Cliff Kingsbury, Sonny Dykes. Like, we're talking some big names. Sonny Dykes and Josh Heupel, Lincoln Riley, Dave Aranda. I mean,
some of the best coaches right now, all from the Mike Leach coaching tree.
When you watch Washburn or Emporia State, they got air raid concepts in it. The joke was that every 4th play, you just ran 4 verticals. Like that. I cannot stress enough how good he was as an offensive mind. He won 60% of his games at Mississippi State. Starkville ain't a power, folks.
Nope.
Texas Tech in Lubbock. Now, they had some success with Spike Dykes.
Yeah.
But never the success that he had.
Nope.
And they haven't had the success since. And then Washington State, and outside of 1 year when Ryan Leaf was there, he's been the best at Washington State. So He is that good of an offensive mind, and you just sit and talk to people. But the stories that they get are just fantastic. The one that encapsulates Mike Leach, Chris Long tweeted this a little bit ago. He said, we lost to him in the Gator Bowl. Soon after, I became teammates with Danny Amendola, who played at Texas Tech. Me and Amendola used to go to Bonnaroo and other music festivals. We'd call Mike at all times of the day and night. He'd always pick up and he'd stay on the phone for an hour entertaining our drunk butts. Danny would hand the phone to me. I'd hang it back to him. We'd never met, but he didn't care. He was a great conversationalist. He acted like he had nowhere to be every time. One of the guys sounds like he didn't matter who you were. He was fun to shoot the breeze with. And that is what a lot of this is. And kudos to anybody who covered Mike Leach that you can just ask him whatever. He had so many theories on like Geronimo and the moon and I mean everything. And so we're going to play a couple of clips here that Mike Leach gave during his time. Some of these are after the game when they won, where the reporter from the SEC network or in the post-game press conference or live on the field, he's talking about, okay, this is the best example. All right. Candy. Mike Leach loves candy.
This is after a 45-6 win against Vanderbilt.
Yeah. This was after an SEC game.
Live on field.
Yes. Here is Mike Leach.
We talked about on the broadcast how you hate candy corn. What's your favorite Halloween
candy
game?
corn? I mean, I completely hate candy corn. When I was a kid, well, gummy bears, let's see. Gummy bears for sure.
Sour or regular?
The Haribo. It's got to be the Haribo ones. And then the other thing I like is when they used to have the sprees in a box. Outstanding. You have to go to the dollar store to find it, but I do. And then the latest, you know, there's still candy innovation, although a while back I found that Europe had better candy than we did overall because they have gummy everything. And then, you know, they have those Nerds clusters, which is new.
The gummy.
Yeah, which is good. The Nerds clusters is good. And then if you go chocolate, probably Almond Joy.
Love it. Hopefully you'll get some of that next week.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Candy innovate. Like it's awesome.
Apparently Europe has better candy innovation than we do.
Yeah, apparently. Let's get to Mike Leach on golf. All right. I like golf. And you like golf?
We do.
Mike Leach, not a fan.
Too.
Are you a golfer?
No, I hate golf. That's another reason I wouldn't be on a committee. You have to golf a lot. I don't golf enough to be on a committee.
Is there a reason you like it?
Because it's boring. Because I don't care where that ball goes. My family like golf. My dad and brother both like golf a lot. And they would drive around and, you know, you'd be on some road trip drive, you know, trying to get somewhere. And of course, they'd have their clubs in the trunk, you know. Oh, well, this is a nice little golf course. Well, maybe we could just hit 9. Well, it wouldn't take long. Let's go really fast. Well, end up hitting 18. And pretty soon I'm just, you know, reading the same magazine over and over again. And, you know, no, it's because it's, you know, everybody says, well, we'll go talk about something on the golf course. You don't talk about nothing. Here's what you talk about. You say, okay, here's what golfers talk about. And Jonathan Winters, a great comedian, had a really good point. He says, you know what? He says, golfers, he says, they're always going like this. They're always going like this. They're always practicing their swing. He says, you know, I fish a lot. He goes, you know what? But you know what I never do? I never, just as I'm sitting in front of a TV or walking through the living room, go. He goes, I never do that. And well, so what they do is they'll line up over the ball. They'll describe something that, you know, they're going to do with a club and a ball that you can't do with a sniper rifle and a scope. They're going to hit that ball to a spot that you can't hit with a sniper rifle and a scope, but they're going to do it with a stick and a ball. They'll say, okay, if I just back off on my left, if I put a little more weight on my right, if I do this, the ball will go right there. No, it won't. I mean, it might be a good shot. It might be a great shot. It's not going to go there. And then as they're going up to the ball, well, if I would have done this, and if this finger was different, and this hand was different, and this grip was different, then the ball would have gone right there. Well, no, it wouldn't have. It would have gone somewhere else, but it wouldn't have gone right there. And then so it goes the whole time. Nobody talks about anything. And, golf's pretty much for people that don't swear effectively enough or need practice at it. And so, and there are those that need golf, and I don't think.
That's a 2-minute and 30-second answer on just something. No, I don't like it. My favorite part is that's why I'm not on committees. Committees golf. I don't golf enough. Fantastic. How about the tie? You have to button it. It's a tie. Mike Leach hates ties. We're talking the clothing item. All right. Here's Mike Leach on the tie.
It's not really big enough to be a bib. It's just skinny. Okay, what's annoying about it? This knot squeezing your neck and growing hairs on it after you shave, because typically tie things you shave. What I am going to start doing is, and I'll probably go to like, what do you call it? Salvation Army.
Yeah.
We can get some ties, and then I'm just gonna flat out just wipe my mouth with it in front of everybody.
So if you it serves a purpose.
Oh yeah. Like eat a donut.
There you go.
Pizza, a little oil hill. Oh yeah. And I'm gonna do that and make sure people see that to a point where hopefully they get rid of these things.
There you
go. His disdain for the tie. He's going to take it and wipe his face. He's going to try to make it a trend, make it culturally acceptable to just, hey, that's a napkin on your person. Like, who would have thought of that? That's terrific. All righty. Let's go with Mike Leach on weddings. All right. This is a 3-minute answer just on weddings. Because someone asked and said, hey, I'm getting married. And, and says, well, I'm getting married at this time. And he begins to say at the very beginning of this, you should have told me sooner because I could have given you way more advice. But now, because you're already done. So here's Mike Leach on weddings.
Best wisdom I can possibly give on that subject. 9 days, and it's a little late. You should have come to me sooner. My wisdom would be, you have to stay out of the way. Now, and I wish you a very happy marriage, and I'm sure you'll have one. But I'm just telling you, when it comes to marriages, the women lose their mind. Your fiance is going to lose her mind. Your mother-in-law is going to lose her mind. Your mom is going to lose her mind. Several of your sisters and female relatives are going to lose their mind, and they're gonna barrage you with constant questions. What should we wear? And then, which of course my answer was, I don't care. And then, what color should the invitations be? I don't care. What should we have for dessert? I don't care. Should we seat this way or that way? I don't care. But see, I don't care is not satisfactory at all. And you're going to get caught in a catch-22, and I'm certain that you already have. And that catch-22 is, well, I want you to be a part of this too. So what color invitations? All right, the blue ones. Well, I kind of like the tan ones. Okay, the tan ones then. Oh, you're just saying that because you want this over with. You're not even thinking about it, which is of course true. And then, what do you want for dessert? I was thinking of strawberry shortcake. Oh, okay. Yeah, strawberry shortcake would be good. Well, what about the blueberry pie? Well, I like the blueberry pie. We could have the blueberry pie. Well, I thought you said you wanted the strawberry shortcake. And it's just going to go back and forth, and they're going to play keep away from you until after you're married. So what you need to do is you need to work late hours, work late, be very nice and supportive, and but they're going to play keep away from you, and there's no answer you can give that is going to be satisfactory or correct. And if you successfully please a few of them, the others will still be, oh well, I just don't feel like he's that interested. Yeah, okay, so you need to work late, go in the back room and read a lot of books, You have to go take the groomsmen out, so you make sure that they march in just right and they know exactly, these swell outfits that you picked out or whatever, however you're doing it. And in the end, you'll wish you eloped. But nevertheless, you need to find excuses that they'll buy to be as far out of harm's way as you possibly can. And but take comfort in knowing that once the ceremony's over, that life will get progressively better from there, even though there's some adjustment.
Now, here's the thing. About 90% of that is very true. It's very true. My wife had, what do you think of the centerpieces? Sweet. You don't even care, do you? I really don't. I mean, it's so true. What do you think about this? Well, I think, we should go there. Cool. Well, I thought you wanted the other thing. I don't really care. Like, it's so true. Like, that is great advice from Mike Leach. Fantastic advice. That is so great. All right. We're going to continue with dating advice from Mike Leach. This is when he was at Texas Tech, and this was on the football field. I don't know how they did this, but they had a question up on the TV, and then Mike Leach answered it only way Mike Leach could.
Bill in Lubbock, Texas, he says, I'm a freshman at Texas Tech and I'm new to Lubbock. I've got a first date with a girl and I was wondering if you might have some recommendations.
Well, you want someplace casual to begin with because you don't want something real formal in the beginning. So someplace casual, I recommend Kegel's Steakhouse, which is very casual. The other thing that's great about it is that there's very little salad there at Kegel's, so then the girl will be forced to eat in front of you, which is something that women hate. But if you can make them do it, the earlier the better. The more that they'll conversate and let their show their true self. And then I'm a big movie guy. If you want to do it more like I did when I was your age, you could go to the Stars and Stripes Drive-In Theater because that's what they had in Cody, Wyoming. But otherwise, the movie theater is pretty good, but then you want to end it somewhere like some cool coffee shop type of place where there's bizarre looking characters going in and out, so that if the conversation isn't going well, you can reference some of the different characters you see coming and going from the place. And then if it's a huge night and you're really having a good time, then you can trade computer schemes and emails and all that mischief that people are up to on that nowadays, which I know nothing about.
Yeah, he's a gem. One, computer schemes. Secondly, you make a woman eat in front of you. Thirdly, go to a coffee shop because there are weirdos there, and if it's going bad, you
conversationals, you can just point out the weirdos.
Point out the weirdos.
Honestly, not the worst advice ever.
That's just ridiculous.
Everyone, save that for the next dates that you go on. Go to a coffee shop that has some weird characters at it.
Gosh, that's terrific. It really, really is. Let's get to Mike Leach on mascots. He was asked at a random press conference about the Pac-12 mascots and if they got into a fight. Here is what Mike Leach had to say.
First of all, what kind of mythical powers does a Sun Devil have? We got to consider that. I'm going to say the Wildcat's out. The Trojan, does he have a horse or is he on foot? Does he have a bow and arrow or just his sword? The Bruin, definitely formidable. Another bear up there at Cal. The tree, I imagine that tree's going to get chopped down, unless we're going to go with a bird and somebody might get pecked or something. I don't know. The duck might lose interest and just fly away and get out of there, which may be good advice under the circumstances. The husky, no chance. The beaver, we'll see how long that beaver can hold his breath. The ute, again, we're back to, is he on horseback? Does he have a bow and arrow?
Did he trade for a rifle? I mean, because if that Utes got a rifle, there's some definite problems. You'd have to get one of those Harry Potter activists to read up on how you kill a sun devil, because there's a lot of outside stuff there. Just as far as a beast alone, a buffalo's going to be pretty hard to tangle with. I mean, a buffalo's utterly outstanding. Did I leave any of them out? The Cougar will find a way. Clear-minded and crafty, a combination of stay out of harm's way and attack when you get your chances or your openings.
He's right. I mean, what kind of mythical powers does a Sun Devil
Truly
have?
a good question. What kind of powers does the Sun Devil have?
Yeah, just that's Mike Leach. And it's terrific. It really, really is. He is one of a kind, and all the stories about Mike Leach. He loved to walk.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, we're talking, he hated driving. He hated driving to the point where apparently when he moved to Starkville, he lived in some dorms just past the baseball diamond. All right. And he liked it because he could just walk. He loved to walk. And they asked him, well, when are you going to move? And he says, never. And apparently, according to the story I read, he really didn't want to move. They basically made him move. They're like, a coach can't be living on campus.
And Leach is just like, why not?
Like, it's so efficient. It's so efficient. So I think that is, he is. He's one of the more unique individuals. And college football is now a little bit less interesting because of Mike Leach. And this is a unique spot, I feel, for his players, because he's supposed to coach in a bowl game. Like, nobody saw this coming. It's one of the rare instances that a coach passes away while active. It didn't happen very often. So Mike Leach, all the fun stuff that we talked about, it's not normal. He loved Key West. He loved Pirates. He was just a down-to-earth guy. And it's a bummer. It is a bummer. But the fun stuff that we talk about doesn't even compare to what he brought to the college football world with the passing game that he had. We've told the story before about how when he was with Oklahoma early on, he faked a football script against Texas. The whole week he was trying to scheme it, to whereas what they were going to do, they had it all planned out. A GA was going to have the first 15.
Most teams script the first 15 plays they're going to run.
First 15. So he would put together a fake one, and his assistant would just casually drop it, talking near the Texas side. Well, the Texas coaching staff picked it up and gave it to the defensive coordinator. And the defensive coordinator is like, oh my gosh, we've got their first 15. We're going to be so ready. Well, it was a complete fake. And the Texas coaching staff fell for it hook, line, and sinker. They're like, what if this is a fake? Oh, it's not a fake. Look at it. It's so legit. So they changed their defensive strategy because of it. And Oklahoma got up 17-0 because on one play they called a screen pass. And so they blitzed a whole bunch of people and they just threw a short crosser and ended up going for a 44-yard touchdown. Finally, they said, okay, we got to scrap this.
All right, this is obviously wrong. We've been duped.
And then Texas ended up winning it because they were the much better team back then. But for the first half, Texas got bamboozled. And it's so funny. But Mike Leach, rest in peace to a one-of-one and someone who did it his way. But Mike Leach, that's a bummer. And I do hope that the College Football Hall of Fame makes an adjustment. You need to have 60% winning percentage. He's at 59.6. What he's done for the football world, he should be in the Hall of Fame. He should. Coming up next, we're going to have a little odds makers here on Mic'd Up. Time for a little odds makers here on Mic'd Up. All right, Fulton.
Yes, Jake.
We are almost to Big 12 hoops.
A few weeks away.
Conference play. What are the odds KU wins the Big 12 regular season title?
Let's go with 40%.
40.
I think 40% KU wins it. I think 40% Baylor wins it. I think 10 to 15% Texas wins it. And then there's just a little leftover chunk for the field.
Texas will be interesting because I don't know how long Chris Beard's going to be.
Yeah, I got no idea what's going on with Texas now because, their team is talented, but they might not have a head coach for a while because of all of his legal trouble. But I mean, if you look at how Kansas has played, I know since they lost to Tennessee, they haven't played world beaters exactly. They played Texas Southern. They've played Seton Hall, and they played Missouri. Missouri probably the worst of those three teams. But if you look at the underlying metrics, they're still playing incredibly well. And they have a lot of good pieces to them. We'll know more about KU when they play Indiana. That's going to be an interesting matchup when they have Indiana coming up this weekend. Because I have no idea they're going to defend Trace Jackson Davis. I don't know what the plan exactly is going to be there. Because Indiana can really play and really play well. But as of now, I'd still say about 40% for KU to win the Big 12. I think them and Baylor should still be considered the favorites.
I'm going to say 50-50. I think it's a coin flip.
Okay.
So I think KU's got a good team. I do. Like I said, if they get some production from KJ Adams, that's a big deal. So I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna say 50-50. I do. I think Baylor hasn't been as good as we initially thought.
Yeah.
But Texas, TCU definitely, I don't think is as good as we all thought. So yeah, I'll say 50-50.
Okay, that's fair. What are the odds the Chiefs get the number 1 seed, Jake?
$50-50. I'll give it a 50%. I think it's a coin flip. I do. I think the Dolphins, the Bengals, the Bears, and they play the Patriots one more time, I believe, for the Bills.
Let me double check.
Hold on.
They got Dolphins, Bears, Bengals, Patriots.
Yep. I think there's a chance that they lose one of those games. So and I think the Chiefs will win out. So I'll say 50-50. 50% chance they're the number 1 seed.
I think I'd give Kansas City about a 65% chance right now.
Okay.
Because I think it's more likely than not that Buffalo loses one more game, given they have a decently tough last 4 games outside of Chicago. And then you couple that with Kansas City having a incredibly easy last 4 games.
Okay.
With Houston, with Denver, with Seattle, and with Vegas. I think the odds are better than a coin flip that Kansas City gets the 1 seed based on remaining schedules. So I'd go about 65-ish % that the Chiefs get the 1 seed.
65%.
Just need Buffalo to lose one more game. They have 3 losable games on the schedule.
Yeah,
they could lose to Miami. They could lose to Cincinnati. They could lose to New England. Probably not going to lose to Chicago, though that would be funny.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Can't lie, I'd laugh really hard.
We also never thought that Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins would beat the Patriots.
Yeah, we also didn't think the Bills would lose 9-6 to the Jags last year.
Yeah, that happened.
That happened.
Yeah, that definitely did.
Let's not forget.
All righty. What are the odds K-State makes the NCAA tournament?
Oh, boy. %30? their non-conference schedule hasn't been good.
Nope.
Which that matters when it comes to at-large tournament selection.
Correct.
Without having them seen them play in the Big 12 yet, I think I got to go about 30 because I think they're going to be better than expected in Big 12 play. But and the odds are you got to go about 500 in Big 12 play.
If they go 9-9 or 10-8, they're in.
Yeah,
I think they will.
And I just don't know if they will, because I think defensively they're going to be able to stay in a good chunk of these games. But their offense at times can just be so inconsistent, especially against better teams, that I just don't know. So I'll say about 30 right now, but I could very easily see that ratcheting up as we move into Big 12 play, especially if K-State starts performing really, really well in Big 12 play. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they get to go to the NCAA tournament in Jerome Tang's first year.
I'll go 25% just because I do think it will be hard to go 9-9 in this conference or 10-8. I think that is going to be very difficult. They have one good win in non-conference, and that's beating LSU. That's it. I mean, they have no other. I haven't looked at the quad ones and all that kind of stuff right now, but I don't think that they've got the non-conference wins to do that. I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. We'll get a timeout. Coming up next, we're going to get to the Chiefs and their number one issue as an entire team. We'll get to that next. Great is the World Cup when Argentina, do you remember when they lost to Saudi Arabia in the very first match, and now they're going to go to the finals?
It's great.
You know, like Saudi Arabia had a national holiday the next day.
They did.
And Argentina's like, don't worry about it. We'll win the next two. We'll win our group, and we're just going to plow on forward. And now they're going to make the World Cup final, probably against France, because I think Morocco is going to run out of gas. I think France is going to stomp them, which works out because you actually get the two best teams in the world. France and Argentina are the two best teams in the world, so it works out. Sometimes it doesn't always work out.
No,
you know. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, they've got a turnover problem. They give up too many turnovers. That's 6th in the league. By the way, the Bills have given up 20 turnovers. The Chiefs 19. But the Bills are still plus in the turnover margin because their defense gets turnovers. We've said there are 4 things that the Kansas City Chiefs have done in their losses to the good teams. 1, not rush the quarterback. 2, not protect the quarterback. 3, get a bad decision from Andy Reid. And 4, they have a turnover. You cannot turn the football over. No doubt about it. You cannot turn the football over. When you turn the football over in big games, that's the difference. My key for every single game for the Chiefs in the playoffs is going to be don't turn it over. Do whatever you can not to turn it over.
A simple yet effective key.
It's so simple. The Bills game, they had multiple turnovers. The Bills had 1. The Bengals game, they had a monster one. One of the Chargers games, they had a turnover. The 49ers, they had 2, but because their defense forced 3 and got a safety, those are their best teams. Those are their best games. You cannot turn the football over. Doesn't matter if you rush the passer. They're so good because they're still going to find ways to score, like they did against the Bengals, like they did against the Broncos, the 49ers. The Chiefs had a chance to win the game against the Bengals and should have won the game, and then same situation against the Bills. They had the ball. End of the game. You get a field goal, you tie it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Now I got to go back and look.
Yeah.
Because I think they were down because Josh Allen drove them. Yeah, they were down by 4, so they needed a touchdown. But there's 2.5 minutes to go in the game. That's where you need that's just you can't turn it over. You've got to be smarter with the football. When in doubt, chuck it away if you're Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not upset because I don't want Patrick Mahomes to dial it back. I don't want Patrick Mahomes to dial it back because then you take away that hook shot. Then you take away that scramble around, avoid your own guy, throw a laser beam to Juju in the back of the end zone. I just need him to be a little bit more careful with it. And then the team just can't fumble the football because that is what the Bengals and the Bills and whoever they face, the Chargers, that's what they're going to do. This is a turnover prone team right now. 19 turnovers in 13 games. That's a guaranteed turnover every game.
8 straight games with a turnover.
You have to be better with the football.
No, you do. And a lot of the times that they're making mistakes and it bleeding them to turn the ball over, they're things you can control. There are times where bad luck happens and that's what comes up. But I mean, most of Mahomes' interceptions end up being just decisions that make you scratch your head. Now, granted, 2 of them against Denver were also just good plays by Denver's defense. And then fumbles are forever your own controllable thing. They are, in my opinion, the most infuriating turnover that exists. because it means you were just careless with the football. I mean, Travis Kelce said that himself, speaking on, their New Heights podcast after he had that fumble against Cincinnati. He knew that if they have to rip and claw at that thing to get it out, you shouldn't give it up at that point. You shouldn't. So this is a problem the team has, and it's a thing they need to get corrected because it's their biggest flaw at the moment. Because it's, when your offense is scoring at the rate that they are, at the clip that they are, which is legendarily high at this point, you don't want to lose and just hand over possessions.
Mm-hmm.
When you score on 48% of your offensive possessions like the Chiefs do, you don't want to just give possessions away. And going forward, we'll see if they can.
You don't have to break it down with a fine-tooth comb. Sometimes the simplest answers are the easiest. And it's just, hey, do you turn the football over? That is the number. And you can also mention that in basketball. If you turn the basketball over, you're not going to win. Now, I think it's the biggest, key stat maybe in sports on who determines who wins. Just a singular stat. You can win a basketball game if you turn it over 20 times. You can still do it because you can shoot the lights out of it. You can do everything. But sometimes you cannot overcome a turnover. And the Chiefs defense is not the Eagles. The Chiefs defense, if it was like the Eagles, then you can afford to give up a turnover, but not when you're the 24th or 25th ranked defense in the NFL. And that's part of the reason why the Eagles are or have one loss is because they never turn it over, and they're +2 in almost every single game. I mean, they're +14 in the turnover margin through 14 weeks. That's incredible. I mean, it really, really is. So we can talk about the pass rush. We can talk that ain't going to change. Still going to say the best chance for change for the Chiefs is to not turn the football over.
It's their best chance to start minimizing and executing some real change.
Correct. Coming up next, we'll wrap things up with the mic drop here on Mic'd Up. Argentina heading to the World Cup final as they crush Croatia 3-0. It was a beatdown. That game wasn't even close. We'll have to wait and see if they take on Morocco or France. I hope it's France.
It'll probably be the French.
Because I have France winning and have a futures bet on them.
Yeah.
I got them at plus 750.
That's good odds.
So I need them to win.
You're close.
I'm probably going to, if they offer a cash out, I think I'll take it. Because I don't know if Argentina's good.
Argentina is very good.
What do you have for your mic drop?
We lost an icon on Mike Leach this morning, and it sucks. It stinks, but I'm happy we were able to spend part of time today just discussing great stories about him because he had a good impact both on the football field and off. And more than anything, football is a better sport and is more enjoyable because Mike Leach was in it as a person and Mike Leach was in it as an innovative football mind. And I hope we never forget how great he was, and I hope we can eventually enshrine him in the Hall of Fame where he belongs.
Mike Leach did it his own way, and that is something that you don't normally see. He let anybody in. He wasn't bashful. He did not please everybody. Heck, just a week ago, a kid said he's going to transfer from Mississippi State because of Mike Leach. But man, Mike Leach was someone who made things a lot more interesting in a very good way. That'll do it here for Mic'd Up. We got a lot more coming up at noon tomorrow. Coming up next will be 580 Sports Talk with Brendan and Dan. Have yourself a great rest of the afternoon.